John from the Union County Public Library, and Cosplay Storytime is becoming Cosplay Creative, and so we're going to start off with June 6th is D-Day, the 76th anniversary coming up, and so we're going to talk about reenacting, which is not really cosplay, but it's historical reenacting. People put together their outfits based on real items or replicas of them. And we're going to talk to a reenactor, and we're going to look at some of the gear that was worn on D-Day. Okay, to help me with this segment today, I've got Jordan with me, and Jordan is a reenactor. Tell me about the group that you're with.
I'm with the Fighting Fourth Living History Group, based out of Columbia, South Carolina. We primarily do World War II reenactments of the 4th Infantry Division, 12th Infantry Regiment, C Company.
D-Day was June the 6th, 1943. 44, okay, 76 years, that's right. So what was so important about D-Day?
D-Day was the largest Allied amphibious invasion of the entire Second World War, and actually the largest in human history. Okay. And it led the mainland assault on the liberation of all of Europe.
All right. And 11 months later, the war was over in Europe.
In August.
All right. So now, was the United States the only force there?
No. It was the Allied Expeditionary Forces, comprised of American, French, well, some French, mainly American, British, and Canadian forces. They all landed on the 5 beaches of Omaha, Gold, Juneau, Sword, and Utah.
Okay. Now, the soldier on D-Day had a little more gear than the soldiers you see like in the movies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that real quick. All right. All right. These hats, yes or no?
Yeah, they would have carried them with them, but they wouldn't have worn them.
Wouldn't have worn them. Okay. No. What about my jacket?
The M43 was used on D-Day. Some of the, I believe it was the 29th Infantry Division that was given those. You would have seen some infantry divisions and some units wearing these, but mainly they would have worn something that was called the M41 jacket. You can hold that for me right there. So the M41 jacket was given to all U.S. soldiers that were part of the invasion, and also just given to every single soldier that was part of the Army.
And this one's real?
Oh, no, this is a reproduction.
It's a reproduction, okay. Mm-hmm. It looks old.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. You want it to look authentic as a reenactor. You want people to not be able to tell the difference between was this real or was this real. Mm-hmm. And this is a wool shirt?
Yeah, so that is the M37 wool shirt worn by all U.S. soldiers on the invasion. It's pretty kind of thick material.
Doesn't feel bad, though. Mm-hmm. Now, you would have had to have something to carry all that stuff in going onto the beach. So this is it?
Yes, so this is the M1928 haversack. Mm-hmm. This is modeled directly off the World War I version called the M1910. So it's basically just 3 main compartments. Up top you have what is called the meat can pouch, which is just housing your either you can keep your rations in here, or you would keep what is called a mess tin, which is just a 2-plate type of metal can. Basically just a bowl and a plate that has 2 compartments on it.
And rations is another word for food.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And then this main compartment right here is where you would have kept your anything from where you keep your pup tent. Which is basically just a shelter half where you and another soldier would team up together to put both your halves together at the top to make a full-size tent. And inside you would also carry your tent pegs and your 3 tent poles along with rope to pin it up against 2 trees or between 2 peg points. And this bottom part right here is what's called the diaper or the tail of the haversack. And there you can also keep, say, like a wool sweater, extra T-shirts, socks, whatever else you needed.
Okay. And would you have something like a bedroll on here too, or?
Marines carried bedrolls, but Army soldiers on the invasion never did.
Okay. And then it's not a regular backpack; it clips, right, to this belt.
Yeah, it clips directly to your M1928 cartridge belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm sorry, M1923, I believe. I get these names confused a lot. It clips directly to either a pistol belt or a cartridge belt. And so this cartridge belt right here would have been used, since I carry a M1 Garand, these cartridge belts were used and had 5 pockets on each side. And something you can attach to these cartridge belts, they have these little eyelets on the bottoms right here, where you can attach either a 1942 model medical
First
pouch,
aid tin?
yeah, with a first aid tin on the inside, and a canteen on it as well.
Now, some of these canteens and belts and things like that, they're from the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still safe to use something like this?
Yeah, it's still safe to use canteens.
Okay.
But if you see some that might have rust on the outside or have a very weird smell on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the wisest to use.
Right. Now, this one right now is about, I'd say, 23 to 25 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have this completely packed.
No.
How much would this have weighed on D-Day?
I'd say anywhere from, say, about 50. Well, the pack itself, I mean, with the belt and everything on it, with the
Mm-hmm.
canteen full, your bayonet, your medical, and your ammo belt full, that would have weighed about 50 to 70 pounds, depending on what you're carrying. But then also, you have to accompany in your shovel, any extra ammunition you have to carry on bandoliers, your gas masks, any, say, extra water you might have to carry with you as well, or any other special tools that you will need to storm the beach.
And then your helmet and your tools and
And
3
your
layers
extra
of
clothing.
clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Your
probably
weapon.
looking at 75, 80 pounds these guys were carrying. Now, this is a World War II era
Mm-hmm. This is
pack.
it's an original M1928. This is from 1942. And so you see right here, just like on the reproduction that we just showed, this one has the meat can pouch where you would have stored your mess tin. And on the, it still has that big main compartment that flips out where you can store your pup tent and everything. But this one is missing its the code name for it, diaper, or the tail of the pack. That's what it's missing. A lot of these original packs are missing those. So,
And as a reenactor, when you find real equipment, it's an extra find to find something they call named.
mm-hmm.
It's got a person's name on it that served. And the funny part is this says Shelton Terry.
Mm-hmm.
One of your family names is Terry.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little extra special to you. This is a really good find.
Mm-hmm.
So really rare and really, really neat. Okay. Now, when we look at some of these other pictures here of the D-Day invasion, we're going to see something on their arms here. And what is this that's on their arm?
This is what's called the gas hazard. It's basically just a cardboard piece of paper that's basically in a circle configuration. Has a cotton loop up here where you would put it on your epaulets around your shoulder.
This.
So it basically just looked like that. And it's coated in this brown paint that would turn red in the event if gas was exposed to you. So you can always look at your shoulder and see if it turned red, you're in a gas exposed area. This rubber bag is called the M7 rubberized gas mask bag. This basically just kept your gas mask bag or gas mask waterproofed while you're storming the beach, because a lot of water, salt water, in fact, was washing around, and you really didn't want that getting on your gas mask, considering that it was rubber and salt can dry that out and make it crack over time. And this is just like a rubberized canvas type of texture, and just like the gas browser, this paint right here, this yellow paint you see, was also coated with a special chemical, just like the browser was, where this would also turn red in the event of gas.
And they wore it on the front here.
Mm-hmm.
So I could look right over at you. If I didn't see your arm, I could see your
Yeah.
chest. Now, we've got a lot of other neat things over here to look at, and there's a lot of different ways you can go with reenacting. Reenacting doesn't have to be just World War II. It can be pretty much any period of history. It doesn't have to be a war.
No.
If you want to do frontiers type reenacting, people do that. Colonial period, Revolutionary War, people do those. So medieval history. People do that. So you could pick any time period, any country. The point is to try to make it as authentic and bring people into that world, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why you chose to be a reenactor was to partly pay tribute to these people, and partly to educate the public on what happened back in World War II, what life was like for the GI and the home front, and what happened on the daily basis, because we see the movies, but we don't see everything else. We've got all this stuff to look at. Let's talk about guns. Do you have to have a real gun to be a reenactor?
No, you don't have to have a real gun. In this case, this is made by a company out in Spain called Denix, and which they make realistic replicas of World War II firearms. They specialize in World War II, but also kind of like pirate era firearms as well. And they're a really great company to get one of these replica firearms from, because it doesn't cost too much money for what it is. It's a really great piece to have, and if you don't have enough money for the real thing, or if you're not old enough for the real thing, you can still use one of these.
Feels heavy enough. It's got wood, and that feels like metal to me. And you got moving parts. There were other jobs besides just being an infantryman. So you could be an ambulance driver, you could be a medic, you could be a chaplain, you could be a cook, you could be a driver, you could be a forward observer with some binoculars, like what we got here. So how do you find this stuff? If this is from World War II, this is authentic, the real leather case and everything. So how do you find this stuff?
Either over at pawn shops, sometimes on eBay, like on the internet, you can find these types of things. Over at antique stores, a lot of times you can find these things for really really good price. I've had some people tell me that they've been able to find very rare items for maybe $5 or $10, but it turn around and it's worth about $1,000.
Okay.
And so it's a really good place to shop at.
And I mean, you can expect to get things that aren't quite new shape. If you look at this, you see the leather's flaking, and the handle here has come loose because this leather is gone. But considering it's almost 80 years old, that's in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And the binoculars still work.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody these days is used to having a computer at their fingertips and a phone and being able to call or text or whatever they need, 911, but back in 1944, you didn't have that. So you had to rely on something like this.
Yeah, so this right here is a Signal Corps cell phone or a telephone, or in some cases, mainly we call it a field phone, but a telephone is also a correct term to use for this. It's a really simple machine to use. It has these two knobs right here at the front, those two little silver caps, in which you would unscrew those, and there's two little holes in the little posts, and you would put two simple little wires in there, and you can run those wires from this field phone to another field phone in a foxhole or another bunker, and then you take the cell phone right here, or
cell phone?
Telephone, and there's a little switch on it right here in the center, and you press on that to talk.
All right. And again, that's 80 years old, and a couple D-cell batteries, and you can make this thing ring. All right, Jordan, I appreciate you coming out and talking to us about D-Day.
Yep.
And just tell everybody out there to remember D-Day and honor our veterans. What would you like to see people do to remember D-Day?
We'll just go out to a, say like a World War II memorial, go out there, maybe clean some graves that you find over at a old cemetery, and just clean it up, make it look good. And if you see a guy walking around town with a World War II hat on, make sure to shake his hand.
All right, since I'm with the library, I want to make sure that you have some options on how to celebrate D-Day. And one of those great options is to check out some books and learn some history for yourself. So if you look up here, we've got Magic Tree House, Jack and Annie, Fact Tracker, and it's all about World War II, and that includes D-Day. So great little handy book full of all kinds of little bits of information. If you're just getting into the chapter book thing and you're reading the Jack and Annie or the Junie B. Jones, this is on your level. I Survived is another book that's pretty much on that level. Tells about kids surviving real life, natural and man-made disasters. And this one is about the D-Day invasion. So it's about a boy who's at the D-Day invasion. This book up here is called Why Did the Whole World Go to War? And it's all about World War II. And it talks about D-Day and how it was part of what helped end World War II. Over here, D-Day, the World War II invasion that changed history. And Deborah Hopkinson wrote that book, and she explains what happened on that day and why it was so important. And because of D-Day, what happened after that would change how we fought our wars, how we made our alliances, how we operated our business as countries with each other. And then the Guts and Glory series. These are small but thick books, so they're packed with all kinds of stuff. Boys, you're really going to like those books. Lots of information, lots of details, but it's quick and easy to take in. Also, there's D-Day, the Invasion of Normandy, 1944, by Rick Atkinson. Another great book. It was an adult book, and it's been digested down into a young readers edition there, so it's good for kids. D-Day. This book's getting just a little bit old now, but the information in it hasn't changed as far as what happened on that day. So another great book, lots of great illustrations, and they talk about some of the top secret things that went on with D-Day too. So if you like spy stories, that might help. The Journal of Scott Pendleton Collins. This is about a young boy who lands right there on Normandy, and that's his first action. And from there he goes through France, and he finds out war is not very wonderful and glamorous. So another good read. I recommend it. The Amazing Story of Adolphus Tips. This is by Michael Morpurgo, who wrote a great World War I book called War Horse. This one is about this cat named Adolphus Tips and their family who have to move when the Allies need their property to practice the invasion. Interesting. If you like the book Hidden Figures, about how the women helped bring out the space program and did a lot of the math work and things like that, you'll like Code Girls. Code Girls is about how women on the home front and in other countries intercepted messages, translated them, broke the codes, and got really important vital information to help save some lives. So good book there, Code Girls. And another one, Alan Gratz has Allies. This is just one of several war books that he's written, but this one is about D-Day, and it's one of his newest stories. So if you want to get a new book about D-Day, I would recommend you grabbing this one. And this is 4th, 5th, 6th grade. Okay? I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed seeing all this new and old stuff from the 1940s. There was a lot more stuff we could go through to show you, but we want to keep this within a relative amount of time for everybody. Hope you enjoyed this. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.